Hello everyone, we are back, Newbeat here with Aegis at the Questline Open. We are joined by Tickety as we get ready for our next match of the day between Roadhog Rides Again and Dysfunctionall. This should definitely be a fun one. It's always been fun when Dysfunctionall is involved as well. And Tickety, what are you expecting from this match?
I think I'm expecting pretty much what everyone else is expecting in a runaway victory from Roadhog Rides Again. I think they've shown a lot of consistent play against some of these top teams, some of these favorites to win the tournament, so against Dice Gaming, against our last match there, and just showing a somewhat consistent level of play despite being a newly formed team. They're able to establish a lot of strong fundamentals in their play, and unfortunately, from what I remember seeing on Dysfunctionall last week, I didn't see that same level of synergy, and I think if they are going to flip the script, if they are going to take this victory, they're going to have to find some really, we'll say, unique win conditions and catch them off guard to start spiraling out of control.
Yes, and one more thing I wanted to mention as well before I forget, I wanted to thank Big Hungry Phil and LaFawn for their great casting earlier in our last couple matches. It was absolutely so much fun to watch. I really enjoyed it, and so a big shout out to them. Thank you so much. But to get back to Roadhog Rides Again versus Dysfunctionall, Tickety, you just talked about what Dysfunctionall needs to do to flip the script. On the other side of that, what do you think it is about Roadhog Rides Again that is going to really, allow them to have that upper hand, to have that good chance to take it home?
Really, I think they just need to play a clean game. I think what Dysfunctionall is going to be trying to do is really turn the game into Dysfunctionall Overwatch. I think that's their brand. I think that's what they need to stick with their play style. They have somewhat predictable members, we'll say. We've always seen a lot of Necros on the Genji. We've seen a lot of Kefri on the anchored hit scan characters, the Ashe and the Widow, and things like that. We know what they're good at. And Roadhog Rides Again is thinking to themselves, all we have to do is shut down these almost one-tricking heroes, and then we can establish a proper game of Overwatch, play to our win conditions, play our compositions better than them. So what Dysfunctionall's, I'm guessing what they're going to be trying to do is sort of flip the script, turn things on its head so that the way the game is quote-unquote supposed to be played isn't at all what they're throwing at the enemy team, and trying to catch them off guard with some, maybe some pub star, some ladder ranked strategies and things like that.
So that's like what we saw last week with Dysfunctionall, running Kefri on a Mercy or an Ana, Gale Adelaide playing the Cassidy. There were a couple interesting choices, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if I'm super high on the Kefri Mercy, but I'm ready for round two if they're willing to bring it back again. He's not going up against Aspen this time, so maybe not going to see the Mercy diff in quite the same way. But yeah, I personally wouldn't expect Kefri to be back on the support role. They were finding more success with him locked in on the DPS, but I do think his limited hero pool might cause them to lack some of the more fundamental parts of Overwatch. Having these slower characters like an Ashe or a Widow on your team kind of forces the whole team to play slower around them, play for more fixed space, as opposed to some of these other teams rolling out on the Tracer or rolling out on full-on rush comps because they can depend on more utility-focused DPS and things like that, enable more clear macro win conditions. Not to say Dysfunctionall has nothing up their sleeves or they don't have any way of coming back into this match, but they're going to rely, or what I'm predicting is they're going to have to rely on a lot of individual performance to really outshine their counterparts on the enemy team.
And so with that in mind, just to do some predictions quick, I think we can kind of barrel right through this. There's not going to be a lot of dissent on the predictions coming into this game. I can start it off. I'm definitely going to take Roadhog Rides Again. I think that gap in between some of the strategies that the two teams are going to run might just be too big for Dysfunctionall to make up.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think we've seen some of these pub teams come in and take some ground off of the established teams, like we saw, like you were saying before, with Roadhog Rides Again. Giving a pretty solid run and actually beating Bay State. It's just another level. Like they're coming in as a team that has been together for less than a week and going toe to toe with like established synergistic rosters. So yeah, 100%. I think Roadhog Rides Again, if they're able to keep playing their game and force Dysfunctionall to to play their game with them, it's gonna be a successful match for them, I'll say.
Yeah, obviously inclined to agree myself as well. I think worth noting too that while these are both PUG teams, both teams specifically made to play in this tournament, formed less than a week ago, or I guess just over a week ago. Now, it's worth noting that the experience level from some of the players on Roadhog Rise Again is somewhat vastly different than the players on Dysfunctionall. They've got a lot more structured Overwatch experience, whether that's playing in Collegiate, whether that's playing Contenders, or you've got Kaluj now on the roster who just got picked up by the San Francisco Shock. Obviously going to be a big spotlight on him to show his performance in the scene as well, but it's just that probably more experience from a coordinated level of play, and therefore they're able to establish these stronger macro fundamentals without having the same level of time commitment as a full-on roster.
Tickety, I gotta say, even after all that, I was kind of hoping you'd like big brain your way into somehow taking Dysfunctionall in that one. I don't know.
I'll give them a map. I'll give them a. I think it'll be a 3-1. I think they could take Koth if they are able to snowball. Again, if they can win like first fights on Koth, depending on the map, sometimes first fight just determines the map win on a lot of rounds of Koth. So if they're able to snowball some easy victories or some early team fight wins and stuff like that, they could definitely spiral out of control and just rely on individual talent to really shine in those moments. But I think when you get to start playing some of the more macro-focused map types, the payload maps, the escort maps, or I guess that's the same thing, the payload maps and the hybrid maps, and the 2 capture point, of course, I think that level of team-wide synergy is going to become more apparent from the side of Roadhog Rise Again, and they should be able to bounce back even if they take an early loss.
And that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, like, we know Kefri is unbelievably talented, like mechanically very gifted. We've kind of mentioned Necros as well. Like, Necros is probably going to play the Genji. Not necessarily like a really bad thing. Like, they can carry on that Genji no problem. So I definitely see where you're coming from, especially in those King of the Hill maps where those mechanical gifts can really be rewarded.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so actually thinking about like what first map would be, if I was on the side of Dysfunctionall, if I had my pick of the litter, I would really try and just do something completely unorthodox on a somewhat known map, because you're going in at disadvantage knowing that the enemy team knows what your strengths are. They know you want to play Widow Genji if you can get away with that in 2022. But where can you go where you can predict what the enemy team is going to do in the same way? And if you go to maps like Nepal, where we're seeing almost every team run the same kind of strategies on Control Center, on Gardens, and things like that, you can actually try to mold your more unique playstyle as a counter effect to the more standard meta strategies that we might expect from Roadhog Rise Again. Based on what we've seen a lot of anchor type compositions from Roadhog Rise Again, not a lot of dive-based compositions, a lot of dependence on Reinhardt or Orisa, even on Koth maps from what I saw. So maybe just trying to outrange or trying to outmaneuver them is what we'll see from Dysfunctionall. But I'm curious to see if they've come up with any strats. They've had a week since last weekend to come up with some new strategies to take down some of these more coordinated teams. I'm curious to see if they'll find some micro planning or things like that around their individual hero picks that can maybe catch all of us off guard.
Yeah, I think we've actually seen some of the underdog teams come in and make things, a little sweaty against teams that we didn't think that they would have a real shot at. Even like we saw, I think it was Sucker Punch brought out Doomfist a couple times, and it just got really creative and very surprising with rollouts. And it was like, oh, they're doing it. So I think you're right. They have a chance to perhaps like steal a map, and if you can kind of snowball that momentum, that's their chance to run away with this. Is absolutely just not allowing Roadhog Rise Again to play their game and just try and throw them off guard the entire time.
And with that, we are getting ready to go ahead and see Roadhog Rise Again and Dysfunctionall. So we're going to hand it over to our wonderful casters, Dustin and Dryad.
Thank you so much, Desk, for sending it to us. Guys, welcome back to the Questline Open. Myself, Dustin, Bowerman, and Dan Dryad are here to cast for you today. And I'm excited. I mean, like the Desk mentioned earlier, we already know that Roadhog Resident is the favorite team in this matchup. However, Dysfunctionall, they've got some talent on their roster, Dryad. I mean, what can you tell us about Dysfunctionall specifically and what we can expect out of this match coming?
I think the analysts, they put it in a very nice way in the sense of Roadhog Rise again. What they have is a different kind of experience in Overwatch competitive, in collegiate, in contenders, and even Overwatch League that we're gonna be seeing collegiate playing on. And on the side of Dysfunctionall, they have a different experience in a game. And in a way that's a little bit more casual, I guess, right? For streaming or more competitive, more content that is towards an audience. So that is the biggest difference. And another thing that the audience that can catch the attention from is knowing that Dysfunctionall, they want to play that specific composition that we've seen throughout the tournament. And if you counter that on the side of Roadhog Rights again, you have all the openings to get control of the maps and to just get that victory at the match.
Yeah, you're really going to have to, get into Kefri's face, for example. We've seen that in the past, specifically for Dice Gaming when we saw them play in the upper brackets. I mean, everybody was all over these Widowmakers, but specifically when you have a Widowmaker that's as talented as Kefri and has as raw of aim skill as he has, it is kind of hard to take him out, right? Like, even if you get a Winston or Wrecking Ball or you get a Tracer on him, it's kind of tough to deal with somebody as good as Kefri in terms of aim. But, I mean, like you mentioned, the team skill on Roadhog again is so good, and especially on the upcoming map on the Zhang Tower. To be honest, it's going to be really, really tough to beat Roadhogs right again with Kaluge potentially on the Diva, Redemption on the Wrecking Ball. To be honest, this is going to be a really tough match, specifically on the Zhang Tower. I think when we get to more of the payloads, it's going to get a little bit more open for them. But honestly, I could see Kefri going off on like Garden or in Night Market potentially. But man, it's going to be interesting because I really want to see Kaluge. I mean, as we know, he got picked up by San Francisco Shock. And in this team specifically, I'm curious to see what his role is, if he's a little bit more aggressive, he's a little more passive. And, I think Dysfunctionall is going to really have to shut him down.
I do want to make a bet here. I expect the Roadhog Rise again to be playing more aggressive because you cannot allow Dysfunctionall to take that space and to take that Widow positioning and to get comfortable, especially in a map like Zhang Tower as well. This is really going to be the test. We talked about the composition that Dysfunctionall wants to bring to the table. They might be teasing it again today, and if they're going to be playing it, the minute that Roadhog Rise again counters it, that is potentially forcing something else from the side of Dysfunctionall that we've been trying to see over and over again. So you cannot allow Dysfunctionall to get in a comfortable positioning with this Widowmaker. You have to counter it. You have to deny those angles as well to go for this hero.
Yeah, and it's very off meta, I would say, to play Genji and Widowmaker honestly in the same exact lineup.
Okay.
But already, Kefri with the quick two-piece, I didn't even notice. I was so fast on Graham and Tree instantly. I mean, what can you say? But the hack on the Bogart, bringing it back right into the opening of Night Market. And this Widowmaker play is really, really strange to see, specifically on Night Market. We don't really see it that much, Dryad.
Yeah, we don't get to see it that much, but so far, given the opening, now that point control is what's going to matter the most, and Kefri is going to keep it going all the way in the back, being able to open up those kills. And it seems like Dysfunctionall, it could give it away. It's only the more I hear, the last hope here for Roadhog Rights again. And yet Dysfunctionall, with all the opening picks that Kefri was able to get, might take control first.
Yeah, it's looking like it's eventually ending up for Roadhog's Rides again, but Kefri really finding those opening picks, you kind of need to have some follow-up. You need to get a little bit more engaged, I suppose, there overall, but Kefri goes down again. Roadhog Rides again is finally getting a little bit more aggressive as time has passed. They've managed to get a little bit more progressive in their movements. But as Dysfunctionall tries to push in with his Wrecking Ball Roadhog composition, they are making space, but immediately they're just hacked by Cyrus. They're just pulse bombed by Tree. Immediately, look, yeah, they're taking down to the spawn doors. Anti-Grenade tries to help them, but it doesn't look like anything's going to be done here. The Genji's getting destroyed by a Moira Coalescence. And even with these ults, I'm not sure much else could go right in favor of Dysfunctionall Drive.
Yeah, that was a fight that Roadhog Rights again needed to win because it was enabling that EMP to be ready and it's set and ready for that next fight. So they need to catch those two tanks off guard on the side of Dysfunctionall. That is going to give them even more space. And there's not even any protection. There's no Lucio with a sound barrier, and the rally's not even close. So there it is. The EMP is going to connect to the Wrecking Ball, a little bit of less mobility to work with, and on the other side, Genji with a completely different timing, trying to get something else.
Yeah, I don't know how he got that kill drive, but the Diva Bomb from Vulcan gets Necros and Vulgar. But sadly, nothing else can happen here for Dysfunctionall, I think. I mean, the Nano Blade was big, but immediately got EMP'd. He found a little bit of extra damage from the Blade, but nothing else could really happen. Guru trying to walk into the point. The shield bash comes out on the Tracer, but nothing else can be found. Guru, these hacks from Cyrus have been absolutely massive, by the way. Kefri working his way over here. He has an angle. Hits the shot, but can't find the second as Vulcan's right over him. This is going to be over for Dysfunctionall unless something absolutely crazy happens. Roadhog rides again, almost with 90% on the board and closing. Whoa, a cap change happened. What the heck?
Yeah, they do get that point control, but it shouldn't last too long. Roadhog Rex again will be taking it right at the end. Try to get to over that 90, and this is one last fight territory. There's a rally on the side of Dysfunctionall to start up this next fight. But besides that, they have nothing else to work with. Hopefully, Necros can get another blade, but the EMP ready and waiting for it.
Yeah, this rally's going to have to come out early to avoid that EMP. No!
Not even touching! No way!
Oh, no. They only got one Nano Blade off and then managed to do, well, I mean, not to sound unprofessional here, but a Charlie Niner. Honestly, really?
It
really?
was the Winston that was going to touch first, it seems like, but couldn't get there in time.
Yeah, well, it's strange that he would even swap to Winston in the first place when, you know, he was on a Wrecking Ball, but I don't know. I guess he has to play with it. And it is like we mentioned, it is off meta. Like getting 10% there, I'd say that's a win in my book for Dysfunctionall.
Sure.
Okay, well maybe they actually do need to win the actual game and have Kefri not on Widowmaker.
Win the map. But this one is one of those maps that really forces compositions out of everyone. And even then, it doesn't really seem like it's going to be much of a case. The Genji immediately getting taken down, denied of one of your DPS to continue being in this fight. And as I said, Dysfunctionall, you don't have a lot of damage to work with, so it's more of that momentum for Roadhog Rex again to everyone else.
Yeah, well, this is Kefri's pocket pick on the Symmetra, but Cyrus has been absolutely impactful. Tree goes down, but you still have the main damage dealer and Cyrus still alive in Redemption on the main tank, and Pink is doing a great job keeping him alive, as this is really just one well-oiled machine walking forward at Dysfunctionall, and especially with this interesting, weird composition with the Moira and Ana, there's no speed for Booger, so Booger gets hacked or gets stunned up, and he can't really move. He's down. He's down again, Dryad. I mean, what can he do? He has no Lucio.
There's no mobility, there doesn't seem to be any willingness to change on the side of Dysfunctionall. That composition, they need that speed to get that Reinhardt in and out of the fight and to keep the team alive more than anything else. But one by one, they get taken down, and Roadhog Rise again. They're just going to take the advantage to now use the amplification for the next fight, even create more space, and there's no way to protect yourself. It's a fight in the TPs in the meantime.
Kefri's just in a jungle gym on the high ground, and he finally goes down. He's going to have his ult coming up, but the main win condition for Dysfunctionall really is this Nano Blade. The high noon, aggressive push from Rise again. They're not even going to let them set up. They drop the Immortality Field to make sure he doesn't die. Here comes Necros with the Nano Blade. Can it get some kills? Please do so. It's down.
Nope.
Immediately, Pink takes him out. Baptiste window. That's just Baptiste is a better DPS than Genji at this point because, I mean...
Yeah. Like they were waiting for the right time to use amplification, not too early into the fight because they could push only with that speed boost and that Reinhardt shield. But now they have to back up. They're gonna play for that point, and there's so much time wasted again. Reinhardt getting taken down.
Yeah, Boger goes down without any speed. This is rough, Dryad. I really don't see how Boger is having a good time right now. I mean, he's just trying to kind of enable his teammates, and Kefri is here in the back line getting staggered once again. I don't know how he's not dead. Somehow this Symmetra with 225 HP just walks away for free. But now, finally, everybody's together.
Yeah, there had to be a clear reset here now since you started off. All the way back, though.
No way. That was a flank coalescence and didn't get anything done. A beat drop comes out from Graham. There's too many ults. Finally, Guru gets the nano boost, but immediately Diva Bomb. Just walks in, Diva Bomb, has no shield available. Every ult in the field pop for Dysfunctionall, but Roadhog heads again with a clean 2-0 on Lejang, map 1 going in their favor.
They make it fast and they make it clean. We get to see the difference and the comfortability that Roadhog Rides again has playing these maps, right? Every single competitive team, they always have to, and most likely they're always gonna jump into the Lejang Tower first. You have to have a very clear understanding of those compositions that work and the ones that don't. And Kefri had a pretty good start, as we got to see. Right on 2 kills of Lucy on the Tracer, but I mean, nothing else that can be done in those opening picks at the end without even having that point control weren't really guaranteeing what the side of Dysfunctionall needed.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if we could give a reward for Kefri for getting those first 2 picks, we should. But I don't think, consolation prizes are really what Dysfunctionall is looking for. Because Roadhog, again, even though the play of the game did go in favor of Dysfunctionall, Roadhog, again, was in the driver's seat the whole time. I mean, we watched it, me and you, Dryad. We seen Roadhog, again, just kind of walked all over Boger and Dysfunctionall. Like, Kefri sometimes staggered himself in the backline on Symmetra. I mean, to no fault of his own, maybe he's trying to make things work. But, I mean, without this Lucio, I'm not really sure the tanks on Dysfunctionall can really do much compared to Collusion Redemption.
It's just overall having the better composition was really what was giving Roadhog Rights again the benefit over and over again into those first fights, and also right at the end denying any possibility for Dysfunctionall to go to that overtime to try to take it. There were just no openings. You mentioned the Lucio. For me, that was the biggest key, right? Because you have no speed to go in or to go out when you need to. That Roadhog or that Reinhardt, even though it has so much support with the Ana and the Moira playing back, they were in different positions. The Ana playing all the way back, the Moira in a little bit of a flank, and it wasn't really giving that support that Dysfunctionall and the main tank needed to push into point and go from there.
Yeah, it was very jaded. It was very strange. It was very, I don't know. They were all over the place, to be honest. Like we mentioned, Kefri kind of going on, doing his own thing on the high ground. And I guess that's just expected. Roadhog Reds, again, really are a talented team as a team, right? Like they're together. They're doing things as a unit. And to be honest, Dysfunctionall is kind of trying to make their own plays. We mentioned Kefri at the beginning with his quick 2-piece. They're really doing things well individually, but they're going to have to come together here on Dorado.
Yeah, Dorado is going to be that second map that we get to see. And, right, it makes sense. You can play the Widow here. You can play the Genji. You get to see it. But it's more than anything how you're going to enable those 2 heroes for success. And it's not only the job of Kefri to get those opening picks, but trying to, if you're going to force that composition, if you really want to play those 2 DPS, to keep them alive and see how long, depending on if they're going to be defending first, how long they're able to stay in the high ground positioning without being forced to go all the way back, not having so much visibility, not having the line of sight that is needed to for this Widow to really pop off. And it's trying to find those win conditions, of course, and this type of Dysfunctionall. It does make the most sense that we're going to see this map next. But we know how Roadhog Rice, again, they like to play that fast pace. They don't like wasting time, and they just want to get it over with.
Yeah, they're not even giving Kefri time to set up. Like like you mentioned before, it's not really all on him, but it's tough for them to do anything when Roadhog Rides, again, is just like playing aggressive. They're playing like old style GOATs. I mean, they have one of the OG members of GOATs, Collusion, on their team. And honestly, he just knows. He's like, okay, we're not going to give their top tier mechanical players in Kefri time to set up. We're going to try to just get on either the front tanks. We're going to try to get on the overall unit, or we're trying to get on Kefri immediately. Like right off the spawn, their game plan's like, boom, just hop on them, do something. Make them uncomfortable.
Yeah, and even if you think about it, what happened in Legion Tower, these 2 opening picks that Kefri was able to get, there were a Tracer and a Lucio who are able to come back in the fight right when the point is unlocking and right when the actual fight it starts. So we didn't get to see it before, and it's a momentum that was being built up more and more in this side of Roadhog Rice again. And you mentioned it, they have so much experience in playing different compositions and playing those fast compositions, and it's a little bit of a mix on the other side for Dysfunctionall. The 2 DPS that we've seen throughout this weekend, throughout last weekend, it's something that only sometimes they're able to get away with, and this one, at least as of right now, it doesn't seem like it's the case.
For now, no, but on Dorado, this really is their last shot. I mean, honestly, even though this is the best out of 5, we're really going to have to see Kefri and Gale and Necros do something on this Widowmaker Genji, on this Ana. Like, that's the biggest combo, the Nano Blade, right? It's a classic. You just pop in Nano Blade, he jumps out, dashes out, and potentially can get a 6-piece. Is that going to happen? It's unlikely, but it is Dorado. There's high grounds. There's like multiple different levels of this map, right? It's not like Lijiang Tower where it's like, okay, this is just one level of ground that we're fighting on. Dorado's got high grounds, low grounds. We've got flanks. We've got a whole bunch of different map to traverse, and this is really their last shot, Dryad, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's really the last opportunity to prove themselves and to try to force a composition like this one into a team that we already talked about has a completely different level of experience adapting and changing compositions when things aren't working out. So even if Dysfunctionall, they get the head start into this one, we know, and this is the concern, right? That we know that Roadhog Rise again into that second, third point, they're going to be changing that composition. They're going to be changing things out because they have the overall view of what is going to work out best for them. And I mean, in the defense, we already get to see. How do we call this? An interesting composition, right?
Comfort picks, 100%. 100% comfort picks, what we call it. These guys, you know, they're they're not like sweaty gamers, right? They're just sitting there with their cup of tea and they're like, I'm gonna lock the Moira and play with Ana. You know, these don't really go together, but if Nolan's good on Moira and Gale's good on Ana, you know, why not? Why can't it work, right?
And yeah, right at the beginning, they tried getting that Genji almost, but finally the last couple changes will be coming through and Roadhog Rise again. A little bit of a dive that we get to see with the Cassidy too. I really like this composition. You know, overall, these are the compositions that we're used to seeing in that competitive play. That makes sense. Really nice hatches as well from the Cassidy all the way back. And the payload gets to move a little.
Yeah, Cyrus on this Cassidy, and Cyrus in general has been a huge catalyst to Roadhog Rise again. Improvement and overall, like, how they've been doing is just reliant on him and his hacks and him on the Cassidy. And it's similar for Dysfunctionall. Like, Dysfunctionall's relying on Kefri to hit these shots and unfortunately sees nothing but tanks. But this is just good for Roadhog Rise again. They're just taking all this damage and giving Pink all of this ult charge on Ana. And Nolan already goes down the tree. Where the heck did that happen? Immediately into a 5 versus 6. So Kefri's going to have to change it back. But Bogur is anti-grenaded and goes down immediately. I mean, Roadhog Rise again with a pretty good engage. And I don't think Dysfunctionall can really do anything as Kefri sees nothing but a D.Va and Winston. He goes down in a pretty clean fight, Dryad, for Roadhog Rise again.
Yeah, good. So at the end and waiting for the right coming on Roadhog Rise again, and when they actually wanted to engage into the fight, it could have been earlier, but they wanted to move that payload as far as possible until it was really completely necessary. And still, Dysfunctionall, with this Widowmaker, you're gonna have such a difficult time, right? We know that the two supports are going to be penal for each other. This is the last chance at the point. I mean, it still ends up going this side of Roadhog Rise again, so it's just a matter of time. Dysfunctionall getting taken down one by one, or I mean, trying to get some time, but besides that, that's all they can get.
Well, Cyrus is all the way in their own spawn doors, and he's backing a little bit and right-clicking. He's going all the way to the third point. We're in second point. We just started second point, Cyrus. Why are you over in third point, Dorado? This is BM.
I respect it.
Look at this map. This guy's all the way in no man's lane. He's calling his teammate over here to come. He's shooting people through walls. He's not doing nothing. What is this? What is this game plan? What is going on?
When no one comes close, it's fine, right? I mean, everyone else seems to be doing fine. There's a whole other fight happening. Plays Nana going to the Genji, trying to get some value, and he's gonna give the Ana no supports.
Finally, you know, Necros can get 1 or 2 kills with the Nano Blade, but this is ultimate BM. Kefri has to look at his behind, look front. He's looking for everything. He took Cyrus out, by the way, in the spawn doors. Camera Rage can now. Kefri gets another 2K, actually, so far, not bad. This is where Dysfunctionall's comp could work, right? Despite the fact that Roadhog Rise again, you know, a little bit of over-aggressive play, honestly, from them. And Nolan on the Lucio. Ooh, taken out.
I'm not the biggest fan of Primal Rage that we got to see. The timing didn't seem to be right. Could have used it now and would have gotten a lot more value. But now everyone is back. The payload gets to move just a little bit more in Dysfunctionall. They're trying to set up, but once again denied.
Yeah, Necros is seeing nothing but tanks. This is a general habit we've seen, by the way. Kefri goes down the tree in the 1v1 at the back line. They get the headshot, but not fully charged, unfortunately, as Roadhog Rise again kind of just snowballing through the rest of the map. And this is kind of how payloads work and how Overwatch works in general right now in the 6 versus 6 setup, is that, you know, it's just really snowbally. You get kind of 1-2 team fights in your pocket, you get ults going, and you get the spawn camp going, you get staggers, and things kind of just work in your favor. As they're just going to the third point Dorado with really no halts. I mean, 4 minutes and 20 seconds to cap this third point, Dryad. It's getting rough for Dysfunctionall.
Yeah, Kefri is not having a good time. Every single time he's trying to set up, he's getting taken down. And there's so much momentum to work with. Like you said, Roadhog Rising, and they have ultimate to work with. They have a next Primal Rage. They're getting everyone taken down one by one. The last chances for Dysfunctionall are going to be right at the spawn. One pick, but I don't think it's enough. Wait.
Kefri! What an insane 2K. Keeps getting these highlight reels, Dryad. It's insane what he can do, mechanically speaking. But he just ran on 24/7 by these tanks, and it is really rough for him. Necros goes down. A good sleep onto Bogur, but actually gets the Primal Rage with like 20 HP left. Really good timing for Bogur as he takes down Pink. Maybe this could go finally in the favor of Dysfunctionall, and a team fight looks like it's going to be won by them as Kefri starts to hit up a little bit of shots as well.
Yeah, they have a little bit over 4 minutes at the beginning now. Only 30 seconds that have been wasted. Finally, some space of Dysfunctionall is able to take this third point as Roadhog Rights again. They're forced to back up for just a little bit. And they're going to phase a Nano Blade next. Good pulse bomb though to start it off.
Yeah, what a pulse bomb by Tree as he's kind of just carrying the team. He's putting a team on his back. Quick
that's really it. 3 kills coming in for this Tracer.
Yeah.
Potentially no time even.
No, there's no time here. The blade's available, but the Nano Boost is not. There it is. Here comes the Nano Boost. The Nano Blade's stunned. Brick Bash. In back he goes. Gets Graham. That's one. Can he find multiple? It doesn't look like it, but that potentially is already a team fight win unless Roadhog Rides again wants to go for the re-engage, and it looks like they kind of are. Kefri is all the way in the spawn doors. He's terrified. He is absolutely, you know, he doesn't want to deal with anybody right now. He just wants to chill and not die because Kefri's been kind of stacking up the death stats right now as Bogur goes down a Diva Bomb. Engaged. There's no shields here, and that's a 3K immediately for Roadhog Rides again, and Dysfunctionall. Well, they're looking a bit dysfunctional right now as things are, well, Kefri's starting to AFK. And there's a little bit of stagger coming, and they're kind of just funneling their way to the payload. But Roadhog Rides again with a really amazing opening on Vulcan. I don't know how Dysfunctionall wins here, Dryad.
It was a good anti-nade at the end as well. Made that Winston wait just a little bit longer before trying to engage, but by the time that he was ready, it was just too late. Roadhog Rides again, they find the answer, and they are able to do it in quite a lot of time, right? About 2 minutes in the last back and forth fight that we got to see, but 2 minutes remaining for them. So pretty good scenario, pretty good set win condition for this team as they go on the defensive side.
Yeah, I like that Dysfunctionall's at least trying to experiment with their composition. You know, they may have realized on the first point that Moira and Anna don't have a lot of synergistical similarities, I guess, between the heroes. But into that third point, which is, it's interesting because, you know, we thought in the second point, the reason that we mentioned that this is kind of Dysfunctionall's chance to kind of step it up is that, you know, Kefri and Necros on the high grounds could have been doing something, but this is what we mentioned on Lijiang, is that Roadhog Rides, again, really, you know, they're not giving Dysfunctionall time to set up.
Especially Kefri, every single time that he was trying to set up, he was getting taken down, and the only time that we really got to see him popping off was when he was playing all the way in spawn, getting that protection. And even then, right, it was Roadhog Rides again trying to contest that and even denying that possibility or trying to deny it, and it ends up working perfectly for them. And instead of Dysfunctionall, now it's going to be even harder. They have to get some momentum going on very, very early on if they want to continue forcing this composition and get more of a back-to-back fights. And it's really the only way to set up your DPS.
Yeah, they're trying, like, Necros is trying to kind of be the diva of his team almost, right? Like, he's the one trying to create space for Kefri. He's the one getting the pocket to kind of take this forward positioning, but the problem is that compared to a diva with Vulcan, Vulcan's got 600 HP and armor. Genji doesn't, so there is no high ground support for Necros, really. Except Nolan, I guess. Nolan's somehow here on the high ground with the new Moira Fate ability. But unfortunately, because Nolan's on the high ground, Bogur doesn't have heals on the low ground.
And he's always getting taken down so early too. The possibilities for him to stay alive and to back up once you engage and once you use the Winston abilities, it's so difficult to keep your team alive. And Dysfunctionall in the meantime trying to find an answer, like you said, that Genji really putting the work in the front line, but still not able to move this payload too much. Roadhog Rides again, they're just in control. They're gonna have ultimates, they're gonna have a nano to engage with the Winston or even the Genji next.
Unfortunately for Bogur, it's looking rough, but they don't have him. Are they potentially going to go for a Nano Blade here? They're setting up. Okay, Nano Blade immediately. No, and oh, good deflect. Gets the sleep dart, but anti-nades. Okay, a quick 2K for Necros, and make that a 3K. Nice opening for Dysfunctionall with a Nano Blade. It actually worked, probably, you know, 1/5 of the time, but when it does work, the Nano Blade is honestly, I mean, you probably agree, one of the best plays in Overwatch, just to watch, right? Just from a visual standpoint, it's awesome.
It's so hype too when Genji's are actually able to pop off. The question is how likely it is to see that happening, right? Roadhog again, they're back. Nano going to the Winston, trying to dive right into the payload. But it seems like Dysfunctionall actually got some momentum going. Coalescence being engaged early on and a self-destruct all the way in the back. Again, Dysfunctionall, they're slowly finding an answer to this one.
What a sleep dart from Pink, but it looks like he's still going to go down. That's just kind of what happens when you run to Kit Nana. But yeah, Dysfunctionall actually managing to make things work here. They're almost capped out on this first point, but Roadhog Reds again is really not making it easy. Tree with a nice opening pick, and they dropped the beat. They're not letting him cap this point. They really don't want to lose it. Boker's trying to open it up. There's 1.5 meters to go. Nolan gets Cyrus, so Cyrus on the Genji, I imagine this is kind of to match Necros. Maybe this is a little bit of an ego battle, but they have less than a meter to go. They have to capture now. His Tree's all the way on Kefri in the back line, so that's no support from him. Tree with the pulse bomb here. No point capture yet still. For some reason, Guru's dead as well. This is getting scrappy, but Tree's still in this. Gets anti-grenaded, has recall still, and he actually gets Gale. They're still not capping this point. Nolan and Gale are trying to do everything, but can they really finish here? No, because Graham's still here versus Necros. They're not letting him cap. Graham says, no, we're not giving up. Caffrey's back on Symmetra. And they finally capture it out. It took them so freaking long.
That was way too long for what could have been. I mean, that early fight, the early picks that they got, that should have been it. But Roadhog Rise again, they were waiting. They were able to get that sound barrier to engage. And that was the opening for each one of them to be pretty much touching the point one by one, keeping and wasting as much time as possible for this side of Dysfunctionall. Now, at least they were able to position themselves a little bit more into this high ground. And also Cyrus, who wants to contest his Crafty all the way back, the Widow getting a headshot but not the kill.
Yeah, Guru actually managed to get cleaned up from Vulcan rockets in the front line as Redemption, and with the Nano Boost, Primal Rage just kind of opening up things for Roadhog Reds again in the second phase. And, you know, it was so much work for Dysfunctionall just to capture that first point. I mean, they had to pop the Nano Blade. Kefri had to come back on the Symmetra. They had to pop a Coalescence. Nolan had to get a little suck damage in on the Moira. So now with 5 ults potentially with Guru, I mean, things are going to be opening up here for Dysfunctionall.
He was just waiting for that one. He was just waiting for someone to peek there to try to get them.
Look at this angle.
Yeah, and again, it's really nice. It's playing all the way back. It's way more protected. Not too much of a possibility of anyone coming in the flank, but the real fight is taking place right on the payload, which continues to move. It's actually forcing Roadhog Rise again to back up, which is something that we didn't get to see before.
Yeah, well, look where Nolan is. Nolan's all the way in the front line of the Vayne on the second point here, and they're doing a good job. They pop the Nano Blade, immediately gets the kill on the Graham, and it looks like Necros with a big 3K. What a massive Nano Blade. Actually managing to get value out of their ults now is Dysfunctionall.
And it's only a couple ultimates on this side of Dysfunctionall that can actually get some big amount of value. The Nano Blade being such a big part of it, and the 2 times that we've gotten a chance to see it on this attacking side for them, the 2 times that it's worked out and it's opened up the fight, it's opened up the momentum for Dysfunctionall to keep going. Now you have Kefri also, who is finally able to position themselves, and you know Dysfunctionall doesn't want to stop now. It's even more that he's trying for.
Yeah, that was a nice 2K, and the Graviton Surge help from Guru, and Roadhog Reds again trying to recontest, but they probably shouldn't use any ults as they go into the third point. Kefri's dove on, and Primal Raged on even by Redemption. A little bit of aggressive ult, and he's actually not letting it cleaned up here either. Tree and Cyrus actually coming back. Nolan gets him with the orb actually, and Pink gets Nolan. No point yet captured either, as Redemption's kind of in a 1v2 here. Guru and Gale still here, but nope, goes down, and despite all of that effort, despite the Graviton Surge and the Kefri 2K, they don't manage to clean up, and they have only 50 seconds left to go.
And we saw a couple of those fights going on this side of Dysfunctionall, but the momentum at the end and the setup finally goes on the side of Roadhog Rise again. There's no time, right? 30 seconds remaining. Last opportunity, early engage that the Winston is trying to take is forcing Roadhog Rise again to just back up a little bit to keep the team alive, to keep those Kings ready for that proper fight to take place.
Nolan?
He's going to start with the Nano.
Look at Nolan. Nolan's all the way in a 1v6 in the back line. This guy is a freak on the Moira. Gale drops the Nano Boost on Necros, but Necros is only at 80% on the Blade. It doesn't look like he's going to build it in time, so he's just getting shuriken damage on the tanks. Finally builds it, but dead immediately to a rally, and Vulcan he's taking too much damage there. Unfortunately for the Genji, not really much you could do. Redemption comes over to clean things up, and unfortunately for Dysfunctionall, time clicks down on overtime, and nope. 2-0 Roadhog again on Dorado. Really awesome work from Dysfunctionall, but at the end of the day, Roadhog again with the Riga test last second. I mean, they just keep funneling abilities and ults to recap the point.
Yeah, and the only real openings that we got to see, it was really this Genji from Necros popping off, getting 2, getting 3k. And with that, having more momentum for the rest of the team to work with that, which enable Kefri to position, it was just a snowball that we got to see from this first ultimate. But at the end of the day, those 2 ultimates, those 2 blades, they really weren't enough. It was Roadhog Rights again coming up with the early kills. I mean, you take down, there's less than 30 seconds remaining. You take down your Moira, the Moira from the enemy team, and it's all going to side of Roadhog Rights again at the end. They were having some difficulty, but this is the thing, right? And I mentioned it before, they're so good at adapting because they have this experience and because they know what is going to work out, what is not going to work out, and what the priority list is going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, for Dysfunctionall, they've really just had to squeeze as much juice out of their composition as they potentially can. I mean, their positioning is just so freaking aggressive. But that is a 2-0 for Roadhog again. They still have a chance Dysfunctionall to come back in the series. We're going to send it to a break. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to the Questline Open. Myself, Dustin Bowerman, and Dryad are back after what seems to be a fairly dominant match from Roadhog again. Dysfunctionall really putting up fights. I mean, in both games, we mentioned this during the break, Dryad. I mean, both play of the games went in favor of Dysfunctionall. We saw Necros on the Genji. We saw Kefri on the Widowmaker. I mean, there's some talent on this Dysfunctionall roster.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it just goes back to how difficult it is to set up those two DPS for success over and over again, right? You can do it once, you can build that blade, you can use it with a nano, get a 2k, a 3k, but how many times can you actually do that? How fast are you building those blades? And how easy it is for Kefri to set up on those angles for success, right? It's not something that you can rely on every single time, and even if you get a little bit more momentum, a little bit more of space to work with, it doesn't really seem to be enough. But yeah, like you said, there is potential. There's a lot of talent. The DPS have been absolutely popping up with some really good highlights, but that is not everything that needs to be done, right? That space and that payload control more than anything have been going on this side of Roadhog, right? Again, on the attack and defensive side. And we have one more map at least to go, depending on what Dysfunctionall is able to do, if they're going to adapt, if they're going to play a little bit faster, a little bit slower. And we already know that last map is going to be Blizzard World.
Yeah, and honestly, this is another map where Dysfunctionall should be good to go. I mean, on Dorado, we mentioned how Kefri is kind of taking these angles, finding these spots. Blizzard World is a good map for Widowmaker, for this Genji. But really, Roadhog is again showing, why they're such a dominant force to be reckoned with, because they just shut down these angles, right? On Blizzard World, I wouldn't be surprised if they also shut down the angles where Kefri and Necros can go. However, we are more in the open. I would say that Blizzard World is a little bit more spacious than Dorado. Although Dorado still is a pretty open map, Blizzard World is even more open. So yeah, I mean, things could still go in favor of Dysfunctionall here.
Yeah, the only thing here, right, is that because it's open, especially into the street phase, into the second part of the map, those spots where Kefri can be positioned become really predictable in the set of Roadhog rides again. So we got to see it in Legion Tower, we got to see in Dorado. He was getting dove over and over again, and if it wasn't the Tracer, it was a D.Va, it was a good balance that Roadhog rides again was giving, so that they could take mini fights across the map, and with that just take more space, take more of a better positioning to take the point, to take the advantage at the end. So Blizzard World, like you said, is more open, but at the same time, I feel like those spots can be read so easily for Roadhog rides again.
Yeah, and honestly, I would say where Kefri can do well, like you mentioned, like there's only so many places you could sit, right? Like you can only really be in so many positions, and where most of us. Wait a second, am I saying this correctly? Are you saying this? Kefri's on Moira. Kefri's on Moira, and Gale is on Soldier. What? Okay. Well, I mean, I get
changing it.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a play. I mean, who knows if it's the right play? But a play is made from Dysfunctionall. They're throwing everything at the wall right now. They just want to win. This is a win now type of move, right? Where most teams would go back into the tank fest and rebuild and maybe get new players. They're like, nah, we're gonna put Kefri on Moira, and we're gonna put Gale on Soldier. This is next level. This is next level.
I feel like there's so many different options that you could have implemented between, Kefri once again play the Widow and bringing this. Like, I feel like there's so many options that you could have done in between. But I guess this is what they're bringing to us. We'll see if Roadhog rides again are ready. The headshot and the Soldier immediately going down.
Punished. Cyrus swapped to Hanzo. He said, I see Gale on Soldier. I'm going to counter that just by being better. But no, Kefri with Necros on the flank, and Necros with a nice little 2K there, actually. That was fantastic Genji play, but nope. Kind of just walked at by a D.Va, and there's not much else he could do. Guru's still on the point here, and Kefri finds Tree. So Kefri kind of playing a DPS Moira, and it's actually working.
It's working out. It's somehow working out. I feel like I'm starting to understand this composition, and now Gale is back.
Yeah.
And only them alone, they're able to set everything up. The damage was coming in already for the Roadhog. I think it was not even that 33%.
This is just big brain, I think, Dryad. I mean, they just say Kefri's on Moira. Let's just we're gonna have 5 DPS instead of having another support player. Let's just make Nolan be the solo Ana and make everybody else just go. Kefri, go kill things, go suck people on Moira, do something, And then the immediate dive comes out. Gale! Oh, what a Helix rocket onto Tree. He killed Necros, so it's a 5 versus 5 as Cyrus gets Boger's mech and Nolan goes down. Roadhog Reds again kind of finally managing to make things work on first point Blizzard World. Sometimes it can be a bit of a choke. And okay, Guru actually managed to get Vulcan's mech, so maybe this is a potential opening as they have the nano visor. Rika test, Guru comes to stall in. Gale still has the Viro. Guru already forced to use his... Oh, but stuck immediately by Tree! Roadhog Reds again actually managed to pop out Ultra. Necros is trying to stall for as much as he can. Kefri has got the Coalescence. Unfortunately, Necros goes down, pops the Coalescence, and the Nano Boost. Are we seeing a Nano Boost Moira Coalescence right now? We are! And it's actually forcing Roadhog Reds again to back up the respecting the Kefri Moira Coalescence Nano Boosted because Graham goes down, so that's no beat drop. Pink trades back with his own Coalescence, and this is just aggressive Moira play all across the board. Diva Bomb comes out from Bogur, doesn't find anything. Pink finds Bogur's Baby Diva on the outside. Necros back with the blade, so this point isn't fully captured yet as Guru drops to the point. High noon, so nope, that's not going to be a point. Oh, and the Charlie Niner as well, but the blade comes out, doesn't find anything more. Dysfunctionall popped everything just to lose that point.
That was a little too late for the blade. It seems like Dysfunctionall, they wanted to stay on this fight, they wanted to engage, and they made the right steps, right? They're really contesting Roadhog Rides again into that point and coming back one by one. We saw the support that Kefri was doing. They stabilized the fight just for a second, and Roadhog Rides again with Tree and the pulse bombs connecting that we got to see early on, connecting right on the Roadhog, denying that mobility and taking down this massive tank. It was so nice. Yeah. Where is he? Where is
he's
he
flanking.
now?
He's flanking. He's doing the Moira flank. I mean, this is next level. I'm telling you, these guys are doing stuff you only see in Pugs and Platinum. These guys are doing it at the professional level, at the highest level they possibly can. And Nolan goes down because they realize he's the only support on the field right now. Tree gets 2. And Kefri's nowhere to be found. And Pink managed to get Bogur. I don't know where he's still alive somehow. I just don't know how this guy is still alive as a flanking Moira. It's working, not really, to be honest. His team is down, but his stats are still high. Kefri tosses out a damage orb onto the cart, kind of just stalling things by himself. He's just kind of trying to live, be a pet.
I don't know if that's stalling, though. I don't know if I would call it that. Just playing all the way back, no support, at least managing to stay alive. Trying to keep the team alive for the last fight is the last chance that they have. Necro starting off in the right way, too, but...
Yeah, Necros with the Nano Boost.
Yeah.
And he's really good with his blades as well, but Redemption is trying to make things work here, trying to finish up, but I think there's just too many people here. And Kefri with the Coalescence. I don't think Roadhog Rides again has too many ults here, yeah, and unfortunately can't. They tried to use too many earlier. It's just a really long phase, to be honest. It's kind of hard to snowball through the streets phase. You know, Necros has the blade. They don't have the Nano Boost. Nolan used it in the previous fight. So he's really going to have to make this solo blade kind of work. Are we seeing some composition changes, Dryad?
Yeah, there are going to be some changes here. We're trying to decide exactly what it's going to look like, but Roadhog Rides again bringing up that Risa to the game, also the Roadhog. And I like this play. It can synergize so well together, like we've seen them do before with the C-Tanks. Sure, you have a little bit less mobility, but you can have more stability, have a high gun control. Dysfunctionall though, they are already aware and waiting for the right timing to use his blade.
Yeah, Necros knows he has beat drop, so he's trying to get on Lucio. Forces the beat drop out. It's a dry blade, can't really make much work, but Pink with the Coalescence, double support ult versus no support ults. It's going to be really rough for Dysfunctionall here. Yeah, unfortunately, they're going to pretty much just kind of go down. Bogur drops the Diva Bomb for some reason, and kind of a little bit of a waste, maybe to stall the point a little bit. To get some space for Gale and Nolan to potentially get a Nano Visor, but unfortunately for them, it's going to go to the third phase of Blizzard World.
And I like the timing for this change into that reason Roadhog as well, because now they can position themselves, they can pass this corner and make sure there's not going to be contested on the side of Dysfunctionall early on. So that is more and more space control that Roadhog Rides again has, and it can guarantee maybe 1, 2, if anything, fights. Really good kills as well. Roadhog Rides again, they don't want to give any sort of positioning for Dysfunctionall.
No! Tree! His movement, it's too clean. Gale on the Ana. Well, now he's on McCree, but the known for his Ana gameplay, you know, maybe sometimes those shots aren't as easy to hit on a Tracer that's walking back and forth in a straight line. You know, that's kind of difficult to do. Guru finds Bram, so maybe that's something for Dysfunctionall here. Necros gets Vulcan as well, but Dysfunctionall are still so weak here. I mean, they're still so weak. It's just pretty much, as we mentioned earlier, I mean, Kefri kind of just DPSing, and Pink as well now. Pink's like, I see you, Kefri. I'm going to raise you. Oh, Kefri now gets Tree in the spawn doors, and Guru gets a hook. So they're finally stabilizing Dryad.
And this is really the right timing for Dysfunctionall to push forward. Yeah, they're going to do just that. They want to contest a corner very early on. And the problem here is that now Roadhog Rise again, yeah, they're going to have a challenge. They don't have a lot of speed. Now they're going to swap into that Wrecking Ball to have a little bit more speed, to be a little bit more disruptive in the backline, and have more of a chance into, again, it could be one fight, but the time is running out. There's about a minute, 15 seconds remaining. And the ultimates, because they've been changing so much, are not really there.
Yeah, it looks like to me that Roadhog Rides Again is getting a little bit cocky, to be honest. Like, they keep going in. Well, Kefri drops the Coalescence. The Nanoblade comes out. So this is already 3 ults committed to what looked to be a pretty fast team fight for Dysfunctionall. But that's 3 ults committed to one fight where Roadhog is again just popped what, a Coalescence?
Early. Yeah, it was too early for all those ultimates to be invested on the side of Dysfunctionall. So now Roadhog Rides Again, they're going to come back, potentially use Sound Barrier to keep the team alive. Last couple changes as well, Vulcan into the Diva. I mean, they've made situations like this one working again, but this one is one of those maps that are so difficult to contest. That turret as well, making sure that no one will be coming in the flank this time around.
Yeah, this is going to last fight. A big slam from Redemption with the beat drop. Gets Gale in Bogur. Dysfunctionall falling down like dominoes. Necros tries to go into the backline on Torbjorn. And the Molten Core kind of just all over his face. Can't really do much there when you are being melted by lava. As the rest of Dysfunctionall are kind of just trying to funnel the point, get it to 0 seconds so that there's a potential to get a tie. But Bogur will go down, Gale will go down, and they actually did it! They got it to 0 seconds, so they got the moral victory potentially here, but can they get the actual W? Who knows? Redemption goes into the spawn doors, the nade comes out from Nolan. Nice movement by Redemption there to pop out of the ball and actually get that a little bit of dodge going on, but Graham and everybody else are here touching the point. Gale gets Graham, Pink is down as well, so no supports. No supports here for Roadhog Rides Again, with Dysfunctionall was trying to touch. Gale's nano boosted. I don't really think much more can be done against this Torbjorn. And Roadhog Rides Again caps out the 3rd point of Blizzard World.
Tree has been absolutely popping off into this Tracer. Every time that we get to see his Tracer, it's just insane. The pulse bombs connecting right when the team needs to, and the kills as well. With the rest of the team, with the rest of the support of the team, where everyone is melting the HP of the enemy, and Tree's able to just clean it up. Looked really, really nice for himself. Roadhog Rides Again. Sure, it took them a little bit longer, but we know that this is a team that already won map 1, map 2, and they've proven themselves to adapt, right? In comparison to what we've seen on the side of Dysfunctionall, who we're pretty much playing that same composition from beginning to end. Roadhog Rides Again, they brought different tanks. They brought Anorisa to clean up that 2nd point and a little bit of the winning of 3rd point. And then back to that Wrecking Ball being disruptive, creating that space and making sure that Anna, especially on the side of Dysfunctionall, was looking at this Wrecking Ball at all times, couldn't even look away. And that is even more distraction that Roadhog Rides Again is able to bring to the table, and to see what surprises they can bring into this one too. And we're already seeing it, right? Tree going into the Pharah, which I like to see.
Yeah, they're
Pharah before.
They're definitely trying to flex a bit, right? They're trying to, what it seems to be, let Overwatch League scouts know, hey, we can play other things besides Tracer, besides the other things. Cyrus is on the Doomfist. I mean, he's had a pretty large hero pull today. Yeah, they're all the way in the spawn. They're all the way in the spawn on the Orisa. They're going to the back line. Vulcan tried to do something, immediately goes down. They're definitely feeling a bit. They're feeling a bit, they're feeling themselves right now, right? They're going for the spawn camp. I mean, who does that, right?
Yeah,
the Blizzard World spawn camp.
Yeah, right away. It's so risky. Not even so much protection that you can get. So everyone getting taken down. Roadhog Rides Again. They're gonna have the potential to come back just in time. Tree once again swapping. Everyone going back to what we saw from them before.
Yeah, everybody's playing normally except Kefri on the Moira, right? I mean, that's definitely been a key. Okay, there he goes. Goes down to Graham on the back line. Nice tracking by him. I imagine that was a really aggressive play. Necros also onto the Widowmaker of Cyrus. And it's a 1v1, and Cyrus wins it! He wins it! SMG Widow, who needs to snipe people when you can just play Widowmaker like it's Soldier 76. Cyrus is trying to find something. It's working. I mean, kind of. He won the 1v1, right? And Dysfunctionall managed to cap the 1st point, so Cyrus gets a little bit of a moral victory. But he's getting walked down. Now there's 3 people running at his face. I don't really think he lives here. Yeah, goes down. And we mentioned this before. Blizzard World, it took Roadhog Rides Again the entire time bank to cap out this map. It's a very long map, Dryad. I mean, this map has so many twists and turns. It's so lengthy. I mean, there's not much you could do in terms of making the time bank go faster.
Right, and it really catches my attention. We saw Dysfunctionall trying to contest a high gun early on, but they went back. Now they gave it to Roadhog again, and because of that, now Roadhog again has more space to take over. And with this composition with the Orisa, they're so good at controlling that space. It's going to do just that. Yana going down by the post bomb, and Roadhog again, they start off exactly the way that they wanted to.
Yeah, Necros has all this positioning, but unfortunately for him, his Ana went down. They have pretty much every ult. They have all 6 ults up, but Tree is kind of just being a nuisance. You mentioned this before. I mean, that guy has been a pest on this Tracer. He's been doing so much. Like, even Roadhog Reds, again, although they only have 1 ult, they have this Coalescence. He's been doing so much on Tracer that he can just kind of stop everything as the Diva Bomb comes out from Booger. Very aggressive, doesn't find anything as they're blasted back by a Roadhog ult as well, so that's already 2. For Dysfunctionall, not finding too much value as Gale goes weak. Nano Boost play comes out, gets Graham. That's 1, that's 2, not 3 sadly, but that's enough to capture this, or get this payload a little bit further among the on the streets. Actually, finally in the second phase, they managed to do things. But that's 4 ults, Dryad. That's the Diva Bomb, the Roadhog ult, the Nano Boost, and the Blade just to win that fight.
Yeah, when everything goes wrong, you can just rely on that Blade every single time from Necros, at least guaranteeing 1 or 2 picks. I don't think we've seen one of those Blades completely miss. It's getting the value that is needed, but I would have ideally preferred them opening up the fight with it, right? A Hero lessons from Kefri. Where is he? Okay.
Oh no, is he doing it again? The Coalescence, aggressive. I got distracted for a moment. I forgot that Kefri in the back line with the Coalescence is always an inevitability. Redemption finally has the bongos as well, so maybe something crazy could happen here. Graham actually gets Guru, so that's the Roadhog down, and unfortunately for Dysfunctionall, the Kefri flank didn't work out for them as the rest of them, you know, pass away. But, and how's Kefri still alive, by the way? I think he doesn't, did he die? I was not aware of that. Is this man alive somewhere still? He is. He's literally, look at him. You can't see it because Cyrus isn't looking over there, but Kefri is being a nuisance back towards where, like, some of the... Okay, finally he goes down. He was in the arcade. He was playing freaking pinballs or something, man. Like, what is he doing? Why is it... Okay, well, it worked because Tree's dead to Gale now, so he's just distracting. He's literally just a massive distraction.
Yeah, but, you know, Roadhog Rising is able to clear those crazy plays from Kefri every single time. So now everyone regroups. Kefri can go on the flank that fast, and now that I hear from Dysfunctionall, the first step as they try to do towards victory into this fight, so far doesn't really get anything. The Nano on the other side. Once again, that Blade is going to be ready.
Yeah, it forced out 3 ults, and oh my god, Redemption's going aggressive with this bongos. Roadhog Reds again dropped pretty much 5 ults there, and they haven't found anything. Now they find something, so they're just kind of rotating ults in and out, and Vulcan goes down to Booger, so it's not really working out too much in their favor, to be honest, for how many ults they're popping here. The bongos also came out, the rally came out. I mean, they have no more ults here. Dysfunctionall's got, they're in the driver's seat now, Dryad. I mean, they have the Blade, they have the Diva Bomb, Boger's low, Guru has the Roadhog ult. Nolan just needs to build this Nano Boost so they can Nano Blade.
Very early on, Hog trying to create that space for the team. And then the Blade can come after, gets hooked, hasn't gotten any kills, trying to put up the fight. Yeah, wins against Pink.
Well, I mean, that's good enough, right? He got 1, Kefri finds Cyrus, so they're kind of making things work. Gale pops the visor. So that gets Tree. Redemption finds Booger in the back line because Booger has been pretty aggressive with these Diva Bombs. And Guru's trying to stall on the point, so Dysfunctionall actually managed to make that fight work for them with the Blade, Diva Bomb, Nano Boost. And now with Kefri's ultimate, we're going to have to see what he does with this because Roadhog Red again, they're going to recontest here. They drop the Dynamite in, Guru goes weak, gets pocketed, and are they just going to give it up? No, Tree comes a touch, stalls a little bit. In comes Redemption to stall a little bit more. Pink will have the Baptiste window as Redemption goes down, but unfortunately for them, they don't have ults yet. Booger finds Tree, and it is actually working out in favor of Dysfunctionall right now. Kefri pops the Coalescence. This fight was honestly already won, but why not, right? Why not?
I mean, they have nothing to work with as rides again. Like you said, no ultimates to properly engage into that fight, and just hoping for Tree to touch, hoping for one of those miracles that we've seen from him before, but besides that, nothing else is going to be possible. Second point going in the side of Dysfunctionall as they try to create a little bit more space to work with, right? They have the better positioning here when it comes to ultimates, what they're able to use next. They're winning over and over again for that one condition that has been that Blade, the Nano Blade. And Roadhog Brands again, in the meantime, they have to play back, they have to play with themselves as everyone tries to group up with an amplification. Where is that?
Pink dropped the amplification, and they got Gru, I imagine, on that flank there. Yeah, look at that. That's a huge window flank play. You don't really see that much but it actually worked out for them, that little shortcut there. Nobody pulled off the map. Guru was not in position for that, so worked out. As Shri got a 3K as well in that fight, but the Nano Blade's coming up. Necros is building that, and can I say, I mean, Gale's been doing a fantastic job on Soldier. Like, he's actually been getting picks. He's been getting his damage in. He's on the flank again. Is he potentially going to pop the visor on the flank? No, Kefri finds Cyrus somewhere. Graham pops the rally. Vulcan finds Bogur, so the aggressive play from Roadhog rides again as Gale is pulled and taken out of the lobby. Unfortunately for him, not much else can be found. Necros will have the blade, so they have the Nano Blade for next fight if they can get a reset here. But Kefri, once again, okay, Nano Blade comes in aggressive. Nobody's even ready for this as Kefri goes down. Necros finds Graham, but that's it. It seems to be only one per fight, but is that enough to get them the victory? I don't know, because the fight is even still so far. Vulcan finds yet another, so Vulcan's been keeping him alive in this.
No, yeah, they're gonna have to reset here. 40 seconds remaining. The last ones are here. The reset, no mobility, no ability to run away as well. Getting taken down, the last Kings. And potentially, yeah, a couple of changes for Dysfunctionall into the last fight. There's less than 30 seconds remaining, and they need to move fast into this one.
Okay, he'll pick Tree, so that's one, but he's on Tracer, so he can just come back pretty fast. Tree knows that. That's probably why I played aggressive. And Dysfunctionall has no ults here. They're going to have the Coalescence. Necro's poking on the front line. Baptiste window comes out, and Vulcan's pulled, but he's Roadhog, so he's tanky, doing just fine. Gale kind of trying to shoot into a Baptiste window that's kind of rough. Trees, and the 1v1 actually dies to Necros. That's not a trade you usually see happening. Bob comes out, pokes Necros down. Tree down, so does Cyrus. So here we go, Dysfunctionall bringing things back. Cyrus's Bob gets Nolan. Necro's caught on fire by the dynamite, but that's not going to do too much more. Bongos comes out. Roadhog rides again, trying to make things work here. Tree's back on the Bastion. Guru's flanking. Has the Moira Orb to pocket him a little bit longer, but unfortunately for him, he's going to go down. Overtime ticks. Tree just kind of shooting at everything. He's just shooting, making sure nobody crosses to the payload. Nobody touches in case there's a Sombra. You never know.
He's doing the job. He's doing what is expected from this Bastion here, playing a little bit back. Melting the HP of everyone that comes close to him. I mean, interesting way to make this one work, but with that is going to be that victory, that 3-0 going for Roadhog rides again. They had a little bit more difficulty into this map for sure, but they're able to get away with the W.
I mean, shout out to Dysfunctionall for making this match, which was a 3-0, very, very competitive, to be honest. At least in terms of the fact that they don't have a... Like, again, Necros got another play of the game. All three play of the games went in favor of Dysfunctionall, even though they lost. To think about that, that's just straight up talent right there. You know, it's stubbornness at the same time as talent. But you know, they made it close, Dryad. It was not that one-sided on the last map.
This last map was a lot closer, and I think it goes back to something that you mentioned and that we were talking about, right? The map was so open that the second part was a little bit better contested on what could have been done in this type of Dysfunctionall. They were finding more answers, they were finding more ultimates. It was Necros every single time with those blades really making a difference and really opening up the momentum. We got to see a little bit more in the first two maps as well, but this one was really more of what we got to see the ideal playstyle that Dysfunctionall wanted to bring.
Yeah, and it all started by just swapping Kefri onto Moira. I mean, right off the start, we kind of were questioning it. We were like, what is this guy doing on Moira?
They
did better on the third map. I mean, look at it that way, right? Stats don't speak for, or the stats do speak for themselves. That they managed to make. Also, to be honest, though, Roadhog rides again. They did get a little bit overconfident on that last map. I mean, we kind of knew coming into this that as a team, they're very coordinated and they know how to play what is deemed to be meta, right? They know how to play the best compositions, the best heroes together to actually make Overwatch easy for them. And honestly, it did look pretty easy for those first two maps, despite the play of the games going in the favor of Dysfunctionall, until that third map where Kefri was on Moira, and we were like, where the heck is this guy? And how is he actually doing things well?
He was actually getting some good value. It just seems like the timing was never the perfect timing. And again, it was everything that we saw being opened up by that blade and everything else that came after it. So the fights that we saw this side of Dysfunctionall losing were fights where they were investing a lot of ultimates very early on. We saw the support ultimates being invested, we saw the Roadhog being invested, and then the blade. So to me, the winning condition from the beginning, and we knew it was going to be that the Nano Blade connecting every single time. Every single time there was 1, 2, 3 kills going on for this Genji player. So if you're always starting up with this, it's going to set your team up and see how you can set up this Genji for success, which is what made the last map a lot more competitive. But obviously, you need at least one more option to work with.
Yeah, and they honestly couldn't find it. However, Necros did play well. I'm curious to see what the desk counts has to say about that game, to be honest. Very, very fun to watch from Roadhog again versus Dysfunctionall. Quick 3-0. Desk, what do you have to say?
Hello, folks. We are back. Newbeat here with Aegis as we just witnessed Dysfunctionall go down to Roadhog Rides again, in which was, if nothing else, a very entertaining watch for those couple maps. And Aegis, Tickety, thoughts, questions, concerns about that match?
I'll kick it off, I guess. I wouldn't say concerns. I'm actually really happy with the way Dysfunctionall played. I'm glad they stuck to their guns. They knew their strengths and they tried to play to them. They just weren't able to keep up with the level of synergy on the side of Roadhog Rides again. And I think this is exactly what we expected of a team of ranked superstars going up against a team of collegiate level talent, or contenders level talent as well. And their structure behind Roadhog Rides again really showed there. And I think the best comparison I could make this to is like, it's as if everyone on the side of Dysfunctionall was playing for themselves and trying to find as many opportunities as they could individually. And when they found those opportunities, when Kefri starts to fight off with 2 kills, when the Nanoblade gets 3 kills for Necros and things like that, they absolutely popped off and they were able to snowball off of moments like those. But the problem is those moments were a little bit too few and far between to actually close out some of these maps. A lot of really high-level play from these players. It's just the team synergy wasn't really there to close out some of the team fights.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really fun to watch part of it. Like you alluded to that, 2K that Kefri had like right off the hop on the first map, and it was like, okay, this is what I'm here for. Like, and there were so many of those pop-off moments throughout the map from Kefri, from Necros with the blades. And at the end of the day, kind of like you said, they just seemed to run out of gas like halfway through a team fight. They just didn't have enough utility left in the bag to get across the finish line.
Yeah, they just didn't seem to be able to like close it out. And like I thought we were going to eat our words. We had talked about how it was going to be an uphill battle for Dysfunctionall. They come on Lijiang Tower and 2 heads are missing within like 5 seconds. And it was like, have we made a just such a bad mistake here? But case in point, they even ended up losing the point on that. Going in 6v4, and I think Kefri secured another kill before even the point was captured. So it was like half the team's missing, and they're still not able to just get those final cleanup kills and get that presence there.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to break down a little bit of the macro fundamentals behind the two teams' different playstyles, whenever you're building a composition in competitive Overwatch, in a 6-stack, in the Overwatch League, wherever you are, you usually have a good balance of strong offensive tools and a lot of defensive utility overlapping each other. And a great example of this would be the modern like Reinhardt, May Cassidy brawl comp, right? You've got the speed and the wall to get you in, start a team fight, but then you've also got the Diva Matrix, the Baptiste Lamp, and high health heroes to help sustain you after that engage happens. The side of Dysfunctionall kind of traded that concept for just all-inning on offensive utility, all-inning on pick potential, all-inning on individual playmaking skill. So like I said, when they were able to find those initial picks, find those big, fast-winning team fights, they absolutely snowballed out of control. But the problem is if they didn't hit that peak soon enough, or if they didn't hit the highest peak possible off of all that individual playmaking, then they quickly crumbled because they lacked all the defensive utility to sustain themselves during the fight. They had too many what I'll call greedy heroes in the form of Widowmaker, in the Genji, in the almost solo Winston, because they didn't quite have the dual tank synergy to enable that hero as much as possible, compared to what we're seeing in a lot of modern, in the sort of modern chaos composition, as we've been calling it, where you've got heroes like Wrecking Ball, Tracer, Sombra, who, for the same types of opportunities, looking to create a lot of individual pressure, but then have that individual utility to survive those moments as well. Tracer's got 2 lives with the recall. Wrecking Ball doesn't commit as hard as Winston and can just roll out of a team fight whenever he chooses, and things like that. So while they're able to find similar openings to a composition like the Chaos comp, they don't have the same level of stability to keep the ball rolling, so to speak.
Yeah, but with that, we do have Roadhog Rides again still moving on in the tournament, so they go forward in the lower bracket, and they will be taking on the winner of Dice Gaming and Bay State, which will be our next game. That is scheduled to start here in a little bit around 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So we are going to step aside shortly while we get ready for that match, and we will see you in just a little bit.